Hello and welcome to Claire Hall Pilates and Personal Training. I'm going to take you through a 30-minute session today of basic Pilates, including a little bit of stretch. It is helpful if you've got a cushion to hand for the back of your head when we lie down, and also perhaps for your knees if they're a little bit sore. So let's begin. So we'll start by drawing the insides of our feet together and lining up our two large toes and taking the feet out to turn 2 on the clock face. Rise up onto the balls of the feet, come up nice and high onto the tiptoes, and think about the alignment of your pelvis. So I want us to ensure that our hip bones are facing forwards and that we've drawn our navel in towards our spine by 1/3 to activate that all-important corset muscle. And drop your heels back to the ground. Just take a moment to check that they are strapped into your imaginary skis. And I would like us to begin with a few rounds of breath. It just helps to bring mind, body, and breath together, and also helps if there's any distractions going on elsewhere within the home or outside. So you can place your hands on your ribs to feel the breath come into the ribs, or you're welcome to place your hands down by the side of the body and perform those balanced shoulder rolls. So I'm going to keep my hands on my ribs if anybody wants to join me, with the fingers touching at the front. And as I breathe in through my nostrils, I'm looking for the breath to travel out to the hands. So eyes can remain closed, or of course you can open them if you feel a little bit unbalanced. So we breathe in slowly for the count of 4 or 5. Slight pause, and then exhale out for the same. So once I've established that the breath is indeed going to the correct place, which is the ribs, fronts, backs, and sides, I'm going to rest my hands down by the side of the body. And all together, we can take a few more rounds of breath. So I want you also to consider the alignment of your neck. We spend a lot of time tipping forwards, so therefore try to keep the head in that imaginary cardboard box. So there can be a little bit of movement forwards and back and side to side, but ideally we're not straining to look up, and we're certainly not looking all the way down. So continuing with the breathing, sliding the shoulders up on an in-breath, and exhaling around and down on the out-breath. So what's lovely about this simple movement is it just gives us a chance to consider if we are a little bit tighter down through one side of the body, or perhaps one of the shoulders feels a little bit restricted. And then if you have got one that's a little bit tight, you can always give that one a little bit more of a roll all by itself. If they both feel really tight, you can roll the other one. Okay, so we're going to move into our warm-up section to get the joints a little bit more freely movable, and also give the brain a little bit of a workout as well. So whenever possible, check that you have got your belly pulled in by 1/3, and how you'll know is you can still breathe and you can still speak if you needed to. If you pull it in too tightly, it all becomes a little bit strained. So let's pull the belly button in by 1/3 and start with our back extension. So breathing in through the nose to take the arms up towards the ceiling, and just take a glance up to your ceiling, and then exhale to bring the arms down. An inhale to take the right arm over to the left. Don't go too far, we've got plenty of time, and then float that arm back. Now, as we take both of our arms up, don't take them so far that they've disappeared back behind your head. Keep an eye on them, and I'm going to bend my knees and let my arms swing in a controlled manner either side of my legs. As I've now realized that I'm using both of my legs the same, and I'm not leaning or favoring one side, I'm going to make it a little bit more dynamic. So I'm bending my knees, my bottom is dropping back behind me, and my hamstrings are ideally going parallel to the ground. Give me one more nice floppy loose arms, open up across the chest and lower the arms down. Good, shoulder roll. Take you back to the back extension. So spread those toes, lean back a little bit further, breathe in nice and deep, and exhale, bring the arms down. Left arm's going over the head. A little bit of a bend as that arm goes over and the body stretches, and then bring that arm back. Can I just have the one ski this time? Take your arms up, breathe in, belly in, swing the arms nice and level. Open up across the chest and lower the arms down. So we give those shoulders a nice big roll, and please can I see you pop up into balance. So come up onto your tiptoes, slowly take the arms up, and as they come out to the sides of your body, try to drop your shoulders away from your ears. Oh, so I'm just exaggerating that drop there. And as you can see, it's perfectly acceptable to wobble. So we're just going to open the door with the right arm. You can follow the thumb, or you can stay looking forwards if you're feeling a little bit wobbly at this current time. And then close the door by bringing the arm back. Do that one more time with the right arm. The further it goes back behind you, the more workload you'll feel going through the muscles in the upper back. Good. Let's just have a little bit of a moment. When I say a moment, let's have a bit of a rest. Drop your heels, open your arms, and look down at your toes as you pull them right up towards you. So you're just getting a stretch through the front of the legs as opposed to the back. Let the toes soften back down. Bring yourself back up into balance. Breathe in, nice tight core. And exhale. Oh my goodness. Exhale, arms out in line with the shoulders. If, like me, you're having a wobble, you need to look at something that's not moving. Cross your arms in Cossack. Follow the left arm out to the side if you can, and breathe in. Exhale and bring it back. Good. If you wanted to come higher up on the toes, you could. One more time. Breathe in. Exhale back. We'll give those feet a good old stretch out a bit later because this does put pressure on the ankles. Lower the arms down, lift your toes and roll your shoulders. Pop your hands on the fronts of your thighs, but still keep an open chest. Take a breath in. And then as I exhale, I'm taking a little bit of a bend in my knees. I've still got my knees a good fist distance apart, and I'm going to slide my hands down over my knees and down my shins. If there is no issues with the back, I'm going to start to go a little bit lower. Take a gaze in between my legs and start to straighten them. Take a big breath in through the nose. And then as I exhale, I'm going to slowly roll back up to standing. Lovely. And then just take those arms around to the front, interlink the fingers, push the palms towards me. Look down at the space in between the arms, maybe about 1 meter or so in front, getting a beautiful stretch across the upper back, above bra line. Stretch the arms up and breathe in. And breathe out, bring them down. Shall we take it from the top and put all of that together? Just one repetition of each, and then we'll come down onto the ground and do some floor work. So start with your back extension, re-engage, deep breath, stay focused, breathe in. And exhale, arms down. So my right arm is just going to float over to the left, and I'm going to slide my left fingers down the outside of my thigh. Good. And now we're simply just going to take the left arm over to the right. So we're just going to do one of each. Go on, see if that arm can go a little bit further over. Beautiful. And bring it back. Spread your toes. Prepare to ski just the once. Breathe in. Bend the knees. Bottom goes back behind. And then open the chest. Breathe in. Exhale, lower the arms down. Can we float up into balance? Remember, you don't have to if you feel too wobbly. Take your arms up. Try and take the arms a little bit further back for me this time. Now we're a little warmer. And Cossack the arms. Just place the chin on the shelf and breathe in. Exhale, follow that right arm out to the side. And bring it back to the center. Keeping your hip bones facing forwards and a long lengthened spine where possible. Follow the left, or a little bit better on this time round. Open the arms out nice and wide. Breathe in and exhale to lower. Shoulder roll, hands on thighs. Breathe in through the nose, a little pedal through the feet if they're tight. I'm going to slide my hands evenly down my legs, and you know the drill. You can start to straighten the backs of your legs to get more space in the backs of the knees if indeed there is no pain through the body. Can you swallow, shake and nod the head, say yes and no, drive the tailbone up towards the ceiling, take a big breath in, and as you exhale, restack your bones one by one so that you come back up into a lengthened posture. Drop the shoulders And exhale if you've been holding. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the screen now because I'm going to come down onto all fours. We will be staying on the ground. So if you want to adjust your screen as well, you know you won't have to do it twice. So just going to move the screen slightly, taking you down onto all fours. And this is where your cushion may come in handy if you need it for your knees. So we're going to start our floor section with a beautiful cat stretch, cat to cow. First of all, can you let your bottom stick out behind you? I know I spend a lot of time telling you to keep it tucked under, but I want you to stick it out and just hold it here. Just have a bit of a wiggle. Check that your knees are directly underneath your hips and hands underneath the shoulders. Now I'm going to look forwards and breathe in, stretch the throat. And as I exhale, I'm just drawing my spine up towards the ceiling, chin tucks in, and arms are lengthened. Going again, allowing the back to dip so that you could pour a little bit of water into that low back on an in-breath. And exhale to arch the spine. On the out-breath, you're just seeing if you can lift it up a little bit higher. Give me one more repetition. So I'm not changing the position of my hands. They stay exactly where they started. But when I do arch my back, I'm trying to get it to go up a little bit higher. Chin tucks in more. And don't forget, this is all down to your individual body and your posture type. Now, reverting back into box position, keeping the hands where they are, but letting the bottom drift back towards the heels. Now, if you experience pain or discomfort, could you remain in a moving child's pose? So do this a few times until such time you feel as though any discomfort, shall we say, is beginning to subside. However, if you're ready to go into a slightly deeper stretch, the bottom is back towards my heels, and I'm going to take my arms a little bit further out in front. Now start to feel the length down the spine, and it will depend on what time of day you're actually doing this routine. Generally, the body becomes a lot more movable, more flexible as the day goes on, because the synovial fluid around the joints becomes more plentiful. So if you're doing this in the morning, don't be too hard on yourself if you feel really tight. And at any point, you could go back to moving the child's pose, forwards and gently back. If you wanted something a little bit stronger here, though, you could hold onto the edges of your mat and you could stretch them, bringing the big toes together and feeling beautiful space underneath the armpits, across the upper back, and with the weight sinking through the heels, a lovely stretch in the low back. I'm going to relax my hands now and just place them back on the ground, staying here for a couple of rounds of breath, allowing the chest to drop down towards the thighs, breathing in and exhaling. Good. One more time. Breath in and exhale. Good. And then coming back up onto all fours, just having a little bit of a wiggle through the hips and coming down in onto our stomachs for our swan dive. So the knees here, they could be padded out with the blocks or the tops of the feet if they're sore. So as we come down onto our front, first thing we need to do is to consider whether or not we could slide a padded envelope under the belly. I know it sounds impossible, but trust me, it is doable. However, don't stress too much about that. It's just as important to just make sure that you can breathe in and out. So once again, if you've tensed too tight, you won't be able to breathe. So ensure the breath is steady. I'm going to prepare you, first of all, and this preparation exercise is something that you can return to at any point if indeed you feel a little uncomfortable. So my hands are going to be resting either side of my mat, and I'm going to imagine I'm looking into a little mirror that's down in front of me. So I'm looking into my own eyes. Legs are long, legs stay on the ground, and I'm going to breathe in to gently come up, but not too far. And then empty the lungs. As I come back down, I soften my elbows and I try and encourage my shoulders away from my ears. I'm going to do that once more with you. So nothing is rushed or forced. Smooth, controlled movements. And ideally, we get the movements to flow one into each other. Not always easy, I know, but that's what we need to try and aim for. Now, you could either stick with that exercise, that preparation exercise, or if you wanted to work a little harder, point your toes, keep your legs on the floor, but float your L-shaped arms off of the ground and breathe in. And exhale to float back down. So my nose brushes the ground and my belly button comes back in. So I'm going to ask you to do one more of those. And then you consider whether or not you wanted to bring in the legs as well. So the legs will float up, toes are going to point, breathe in. And exhale to come down. So you should never perform these movements if you're experiencing pain. Mild discomfort is fine, and don't be too keen or in too much of a rush to get really high. There's lots of time, and sometimes it's better to keep it low but precise than go too high and get out of control. Can we do a few more of those? Breathe in and exhale. So you know that you've only got 2 more, so if you wanted to come up a little bit higher, you could. You could lift the legs a little bit higher. And on this last one, make it even better than your first. Think length down through the head and also the legs being pulled away. And now cross the arms and make a pillow for the head with the hands. Good. Let the heels drop out to either side and have a little rock along the pelvis, and then turn the head to make sure that the neck gets an even stretch. Okay, placing our hands down either side of us and using them to push back into and to return back to a child's pose, albeit moving or still, but knees though, different. Can we take them a little bit further out to the edges of our space in order to get a stretch down through the inner thigh and groin, sliding the hands down through the middle. And you remember that it's entirely up to you how strong of a stretch you take here. There are so many variations of child's pose. Keeping the hands here going through the center, slightly more neutral. If I take my hands wider and I make teepees with the fingers and thumbs and push those fingers into the ground, it gives me a much greater stretch down through the spine. You're looking for something a little bit more relaxing. You can close your knees, excuse me, and take your hands around the back by the bottoms of your feet to allow the chest to relax. So use it for what you need it to do for you. Breathing steadily in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then placing our hands down on the ground to push ourselves up. And could I ask you here, please, to stretch the chest? And to do so, we interlink our fingers in the small of the back. But when I say small of the back, I mean underneath the buttocks, but starting off in the small of the back and taking them lower and trying to draw the shoulder blades together left and right, taking a little bit of a lean back if you can, so that you feel the expansion across the chest. As always, I need you to encourage your navel in towards your spine by that 1/3 to protect your back. Gaze can go up towards the ceiling, or you can keep the eye gaze forward. But feeling that opening across the chest, take a breath in, and then exhale, let the arms drift away, perhaps a little bit more from the back of the body, just to increase the stretch, and then let the thumbs go back towards the buttocks and just take the hands around and give them a bit of a shake. Okay, I'm going to bring you down now onto your back. So if you did have a cushion and you wanted to use it for the back of your head, place it to the head end of your mat. And we're going to take our bodies down onto the ground. Now we can do that via roll back, or you can keep your hands on the ground to steady you down nice and safely. Otherwise, we'll roll down traditional Pilates style, imagining a fist in between the knees, holding on behind the back of the knees in order to get that elevation through the spine. Looking forwards at that beautiful picture in front of you, rather than looking down at your feet or knees. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, you're pulling your navel back towards the base of your spine. So imagine my fist was resting there, and I'm just going to keep my eye on the picture. Your hands can go on the floor if they need to. Otherwise, roll down nice and steady and take a full body stretch. So obviously if you have more time, you could do a few more roll downs and it would probably look a little bit better than that one. So if you do want to do a few more, you all know what you're doing. You can if you so wish. But if time is restricted, then that one is there just to get us down onto our backs. So now we are here. We're going to bring the knees either one at a time or both together in towards the chest, and interlink the fingers around the fronts of the shins, where we could take a rock along the base of the spine. Now, this has got to feel good for you. If it doesn't feel good, if you've been doing quite a lot of gardening, if you've been doing quite a lot of walking or cycling, it might feel nicer just to gently ease the legs in a bit closer with your hands rather than moving around. So whatever suits you best. If you've got the knees in nice and close and you've kept them still, maybe just taking a peek over the tops of the knees might feel nice to stretch out the spine. And then my head is going to softly go back to the ground. And this is important, eye gaze. I shouldn't be looking at a lot of my room behind me, nor masses in front of me. Ideally, I'm looking up above. I'd like us to perform the first few rounds of toe dips with one hand or some a bean bag or perhaps a padded envelope in the low back, because quite often we get a little bit, we sort of tend to rock a little bit forwards and backwards, and I need us to try to keep a little bit of pressure on the hand or whatever is in the low back. So I'm on my tiptoes, I'm quite light, and I'm going to take my first leg into tabletop. Tray of drinks on the shin, breath in. And then exhale, the left leg is going to go up to join. So now my feet are 1 or 2 fist distance apart, as are my knees, tray of drinks on shins. Now I'm just going to very slowly, with my left arm out to the side, drop my right toes down a little bit. No movement or minimal movement through belly, and then bring that right leg back up in line with the left. As I take my left foot down, I need to consider the low back once again, whether or not there is much movement. And of course, it's fine to have a little bit of movement, but you should really always be feeling a little bit of contact. Now, could we lower the right foot down to the ground nice and slowly, exhaling? Land on the tiptoes, breathe in, and exhale, lower the left. So good old-fashioned cream cake, you know, the long ones where the cream squidges out through the top? I want you to imagine you've got one of those underneath your feet to keep them light. Take your hands away from the back body and take a breath in. Relax your shoulders, but pull your belly in, and exhale, take your right leg up into tabletop. If you want to keep the left toes down due to back issues, that's fine. I'm going to bring mine up in case you want to join me. Nice and simple. Take the arms up and let the fingers connect. Take a breath in through the nose, and as you breathe out, your right leg is going down and your arms float evenly out to the side. And then breathe in to come back. Very simply, 5 more with that right leg. Keeping that left leg nice and still. And you know how many repetitions you've got left, because I'm sure you're counting. So you can begin to take that right foot a little bit further away, but it's all dependent upon whether or not you're able to keep neutral spine. So I've got 2 more repetitions, exhaling and inhaling to come back. Beautiful flowing movements. Now on the last one, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to see if I can get my hands all the way to the floor and my toe all the way down. A bit of juddering is fine, providing the belly is pulled in. And then listen up. Let's float the right leg down and the left leg down. Arms go out to the side. Gently bring the knees a little bit closer together. Relax the shoulders, give them a wiggle. Take a breath in, feel softness through the pelvis, and exhale to take my legs connected over to the right. Breathe in. And exhale nice and slowly. So by keeping a bend in the knees, we're taking pressure off of the low back. And then I'm going to take my legs over to the left. Good. Let's come on back to the center and repeat those toe taps on the left side. So you are welcome to put your hand in the small of the back if you're a little bit unsure about whether or not neutral is being maintained. I'm going to take my right leg up into tabletop and hold. I've still got my left foot on the queen cake, so breathe in and exhale, left goes to join. So we're just going to reverse the arms now just to confuse us a little bit. So take a breath in through the nose. It's the left leg that goes down and the arms go up towards the ceiling. So of course, if you have got a hand weight, so you've got some tins handy, you're welcome to use your weights here. But I just wanted this basic Pilates to be for anybody that's perhaps had a little bit of a busy weekend, perhaps overdone it a little bit, but also felt as though they did want to focus on their stretching and also their core. So 3 more repetitions. If you've forgotten about the arms, don't worry. Really, they're just about keeping some fluidity through the upper body. And I'm just going to see if for 2 more repetitions, I could perhaps take my left foot a little bit further out in front. The further my foot goes to the floor, the longer it should be taking to get there. So therefore, the longer it should take to come back up. Good. Let the arms float down to the ground and then just bring the knees in closer and hug around the fronts of the shins. And take a little bit of a rock from side to side. So I'm having a little bit of a chuckle to myself because my timekeeping, as you all regulars all know, my timekeeping is not the best. And I think 30 minutes might be a little bit of a challenge here, but we've just got a couple more things I'd like to fit in if at all possible. I don't know where the 30 minutes came from anyway, really. Anyway, so let's give the hamstrings a stretch before we move on. Now, resting lightly on the left tiptoes, toes are back on the cream cake. I'm going to interlink my fingers around the back of my left thigh, and I'm just going to get some mobility back into the ankle. Now, believe it or not, your feet get really tight. So do some slow circles, but you're not circling the whole leg. That's not one leg circle. We're just circling the ankle around both ways and hold nice and still. Now, if your legs are relatively short or flexibility allows, you may be able to slide your hands a little bit further towards the back of the leg, towards the ankle. Otherwise, keep them behind the back of the thigh, so above the knee rather than below. Take a couple of breaths. I wouldn't flex the foot, I'd relax it, because it might start to cramp up a little bit, that foot, because we're looking now to use our arms to pull our leg in, to feel the stretch down through the back of the leg, the hamstring. Now, if you've got your straps, your dressing gown cords, you're welcome to use them here. And that will, of course, create less tension through the neck. But if there's no neck pain, there's no problem at all with using these hands. Now, could you lift your head, have a peep at your right knee and breathe in? And as you breathe out, see if you can get a little bit straighter down through the back of that right leg. So I've just taken my hands just above the knee now rather than below. Foot is flexed, getting a lovely stretch in the hamstring there. And then just give it a bit of a shake out and we'll swap to the other side. So I'm going to lengthen that leg up, but if it starts to judder and shake, keep a bend in the knee. So be kind to the body and give it as much time as it needs to in order to release and feel relaxed. Oh, tight ankles, circling out the feet there. Don't forget, it's been quite damp over the last few days as well. Body's not keen on damp. So giving those feet a good old circle in both directions. Just the ankle, not the whole of the leg. And now we're going to focus on the hamstring, the calf, and the back of the knee. So I've still got the back of my hips on the ground, resting lightly on those right tiptoes, but you could always put the foot down if you prefer. And make sure that the foot isn't trying to go out one way or the other. Ideally, we want the foot and the knee and the hip to all be in a line. Lifting the head, taking a breath in. And exhale, taking the head back down, lengthening up through the back of that leg. I'm going to take my hands perhaps slightly above the knee now to see how it feels. I can always take it back below the knee. And then keeping the foot nice and still, try and draw the leg in a little bit closer. So you know you could spend longer on this if you needed to. It is a fantastic way of getting the muscles that attach to the pelvis to be more movable, shall we say, less restrictive. Good. And then gently bend that leg and pop the foot down. So just to finish, we're going to go for a gentle bridge. I don't think we've really got time for this, but as I say, it's just like a typical class. So a big, heavy glass weighted marble, it's gone down into my belly button and it's made my belly just a little bit flatter. And now I'm going to tilt my pelvis so that that glass marble rolls down towards my pubic bone, and then I'm going to get it to roll back up towards my navel. And I'm going to keep it in the belly button. There's a slight tilt in the pelvis. Spread the toes and plant your feet firmly on the ground. Take a breath in through the nostrils and breathe out to start to float the hips up towards the ceiling. Now I'm going to hold it here, imagining that spirit level across the top of my hips. Taking a deep breath. If you're able to remove the cushion, please do, but not if it causes pain. And now I'm going to start by lowering the upper back down. I'll get to bra line, mid-back thoracic, and then slowly back of the hips, and also finally the tailbone. Now if you feel as though your knees are trying to move around, just pop a cushion in between them to keep them in line with the hips and the ankles. So breath in. Exhale, peeling the spine off bone by bone. So just imagining your back is covered in ink, and as I peel you off, you'll be able to see that beautiful line, just like a string of pearls as I've lifted you up. You're going to stay here and breathe in. I want you to take a little bit of a squeeze through the butt. Don't lower the hips too quickly though. Start to lower the upper back. We've got bra line. We've got below bra line. Or back of hips. And just watch you don't screw your face up. Keep your shoulders nice and relaxed and make some funny faces if it helps. And we're just going to do one more of those. So this is just our little stretch to finish off. Take a breath in, push into the feet and float the hips up. Arms, let them relax down by the side of the body and see if we can come up a little bit higher this time. So we've got a beautiful straight line here. Take a breath in. And exhale, don't drop the hips too quickly. Let's take upper back down, bra line below, feeling each vertebrae bone by bone, going back to the ground. Lovely. If there's a cushion in between your knees, lift your head and remove it. Pop the cushion back behind. And could we lengthen out our legs and take a full body stretch? Breathing in through the nose. And let everything go floppy on the exhale. Let's do that twice more. That tense and release, you can make a fist, you can pull your toes up towards you, squeeze the belly, the arms and the thighs, and then go floppy. One more time. Breathe in. Good. Popping your feet onto the ground and rolling over onto one side. Keeping the arm there as a little bit of support for the side of the head and neck, and the knees stacked, and also the ankle bones. Pushing yourself around onto all fours, where you're going to bring yourself back up into standing. But don't rush, not just yet. Before we come back up into standing, checking that the hands are positioned underneath the shoulders and the knees underneath the hips. Taking our body weight back towards our heels and placing the whole of the left and right foot on the ground. If your back is tender, you may want to pop your hands onto your thighs in order to bring you back up into standing. Otherwise, take a moment and just hang over the fronts of your shins to further lengthen through the hamstrings, the muscles in the backs of your thighs. Take a big breath in through the nose, and as you roll back up, try to keep your knees level and also your arms. Take a big stretch up towards your ceiling, look up at the space in between the hands, and then feel those shoulders relax as you breathe out and bring your arms down. Give your shoulders a nice big roll and ensure that you can look relatively easily over each one of your shoulders. Always useful to be able to see what's going on behind you, and then drop your shoulders down. Thank you for joining me today, and I will hope to see you soon.